welcome to the first of the Cosmetics Business Roundtable webinars for 2024, which will zero in on sustainable beauty, claims and metrics. I'm Julie Ray, I'm Head of Editorial at HBCI Media, and I'll be your moderator for this session. In 2024, sustainability is not a choice. It's not even a marketing claim. It's an expectation that should be central to all company and brand decisions. But what does sustainability look like for each company? What are their priorities? And importantly, how can we ensure that we are all on the right track? To help us get some insight and perspective on this, we have a fantastic group of experts who I'll introduce in just a moment. But before I hand over, I'd like to mention a few housekeeping details. Firstly, today's webinar will be available on demand if you would like to revisit or share the content at any stage. The last 20 minutes or so of this webinar will be devoted to a Q&A session, so do feel free to ask our experts anything you'd like. We'll see a box for questions in front of you, so do use this to send us any questions that you haven't already sent in as part of our sign-up process. So, with all of that said, I will now introduce you to our panel. Primož Artak, CEO and founder, Tosla.
Hi, my name is Primož Artak. I'm the CEO of Tosla Nutri-Cosmetics, a company dedicated to the research, development, and manufacturing of liquid nutri-cosmetic formulations created for the beauty, health, and wellness sectors. I'm here today to talk to you about the importance of sustainable practices. In the next 10 minutes, I will delve into the theme of sustainability, explore where it is headed, and demonstrate just how much can be done to protect the future of our planet and people. Sustainability not only defines us at Tosla, but empowers all of our current and future clients to chart a more conscious path forward. But first, a word of reflection on a staggering reality that demands our attention. The urgency of responsible business practices has never been more palpable. As the guardians of our planet's future, embracing sustainability isn't just a choice, it's an imperative. It's a call to action to preserve the beauty that surrounds us. Now, as we navigate this roundtable, let's explore the importance and the transformative power of sustainability in shaping a future where success goes hand in hand with responsibility. Tosla embodies and works towards this goal in more aspects than one, approaching sustainability through numerous angles. The first one we will look at is economic sustainability. Research shows that eco-conscious consumer choices are on the rise, with a 28% cumulative growth in product sales with ESG-related claims, as opposed to a 20% cumulative growth in non-ESG-backed products. In supporting sustainable consumption patterns, Tosla's goal is always to attain long-term economic stability. Reflecting our perpetual forward momentum, in 2022, we created our own ESG initiative and named it Forward. This initiative helps us incorporate all three aspects of the triple bottom line of sustainability into our business model. It also helps keep the business accountable and striving to meet new sustainability goals while keeping the stakeholders updated with new sustainability-driven projects. One way we do so is by investing in at least one clinical study per year to test the efficacy of our products and formulations. Examining our work, and specifically the work of the R&D department under a magnifying glass, shows Tosla's commitment to science. It helps our clients create advertising campaigns and communicate the findings to the consumer. Clinical studies substantiate the benefits of our products, ensuring safety and efficacy. Beauty brands can leverage research-driven innovation to build credibility and trust among consumers who seek evidence-based beauty solutions. Furthermore, we have incorporated several accountability measures into our sustainable practices, ensuring we adhere to them in the long run and boost our credibility. The main and biggest step for Tosla in 2023 was receiving the B Corp certification. Having undergone a rigorous assessment process, we are proud to announce that we now also have the credentials to showcase Tosla's ongoing commitment to higher standards of sustainable social and environmental performance, accountability, and transparency. Initiatives like the ESG and the B Corp certification not only showcase the environmental and social benefits, but reflect a true commitment to the cause in the long term, reflecting economic sustainability as well. Additionally, we do use PET plastic packaging. We acknowledge the use of plastic packaging for the sake of economic sustainability and business efficiency. Despite alternative narrative, plastic packaging has proved to be the most viable choice for nutricosmetics for several reasons. Besides being the most cost-effective and low in carbon footprint, the opaque materials of plastic helps preserve the potency of collagen and vitamins by shielding them from light. Secondly, in an era marked by the heightened awareness of environmental challenges, businesses in the cosmetics industry must embrace environmental consciousness for the sake of resource conservation, to meet consumer expectations and to enhance brand reputation. We place a significant emphasis on environmental considerations in our operations. Tosla's sustainability efforts extend beyond mere compliance, reflecting a genuine dedication to minimizing our ecological footprint. 2023 marked the completion and opening of one of our biggest green projects and most prominent steps toward protecting nature, the opening of our solar power plant. The plant, fitted with solar panels and on-site battery storage, has enabled the transition to relying on green energy. In addition, we have dedicated electric cars to employees who travel over 80 kilometers to work every day, and all of this has in turn reduced our carbon emissions in 2023. The plan is to cover over 60% of all our energy needs with solar power by 2025. I'm happy to report that despite investing in the sustainability side of our business, this has never influenced the quality of our products. While doing what is best for the planet, our products are still backed by the highest quality standards. The company embraces FSSC and CGMP standards, ensuring comprehensive control over product quality and safety. All of these initiatives can work in favor of our environment to ensure we will have the precious resources necessary for operation years into future. To be able to continue to provide our products to beauty brands all over the world, we need to actively invest in and preserve the nature and environment that graciously host us. Social responsibility is at the heart of Tosla operations. We support the community, pioneer social change, and back social causes that align with our mission and vision. We prioritize the well-being of people, extending our care to both employees and consumers, while also valuing our partners and the local community equally. It is therefore with great pride that we invest in good working conditions, provide fair wages, celebrate diversity, offer opportunities for promotion, and foster an inclusive environment. In line with our commitment to equal collaboration and perspectives, we advocate for an increased representation of women in senior positions. We aim to maintain at least a 30% representation of women in leadership roles. We actively encourage their career development and inspire them to take on managerial positions. According to our local legislation and company policy, women are entitled to 12 months of maternity leave accompanied with flexible work time and workplace. Additionally, going beyond just workplace diversity, we are dedicated to bringing added value to our employees. A prime example of one such initiative is the different cross-training programs we offer to them. Employee education showcased Tosla's commitment to ethical business practices and drive to keep both our data and our employees safe. Now, spanning beyond just internal policies, Tosla extends its commitment to sustainability to its suppliers too, fostering strong relationships and encouraging them to adopt environmentally friendly and ethical practices. This approach aims to build a more sustainable supply chain, aligning with Tosla's overall sustainability goals. For our customers, this means being able to rely on the quality of our products with trustworthy delivery times. Furthermore, as aforementioned, this ensures that end consumers are safe and happy and that our products adhere to the highest quality standards and controls. With all the initiatives mentioned, our objective extends beyond prioritizing sustainability for our own practices, but to help our clients on their path towards sustainability as well. By actively reducing our carbon footprint, minimizing waste, and prioritizing the well-being of our workforce and the environment, we not only set a standard, but incorporate sustainability into the very essence of our products. Through these efforts, we provide the groundwork for our clients, enabling them to offer products ingrained with sustainability. In conclusion, Tosla Nutri-Cosmetics exemplifies the transformative power of sustainability. Our journey through environmental, social, and economic sustainability reflects our commitment to a future where beauty is redefined and conscious paths are charted. Sustainability is not just a choice for us, it is woven through our business practices as a whole. From our green initiatives, support for social causes, to economic stability, Tosla works hard towards a sustainable future every day. This dedication not only defines us, but empowers our clients and allows them to embrace a more eco-conscious future. We believe that in these superficial times, we can use science and technology to move us beyond the surface to a more genuine and sustainable world.
Excited to be here today talking with you about sustainability and specifically the metrics we use to measure our efforts, the claims that can be used, and how best to substantiate them. Before we get started, I want to take a minute to introduce myself. My name is Amanda Jepson. I'm the Vice President of Business Development for Biova. Biova is an ingredient supplier that provides water-soluble egg membrane as a raw material to the global market in the supplement and skincare industries. Water-soluble egg membrane is that thin film you peel off of a hard-boiled egg. Naturally occurring compounds in the membrane include collagen, elastin, glucosamine, chondroitin, hyaluronic acid, and all 9 essential amino acids. So not only are you getting all of these beneficial compounds from one natural source, it's also a 100% upcycled ingredient that is made in the US. Let's talk a little bit about consumer perceptions when it comes to sustainability. There's a growing emphasis on transparency, ethical practices, and environmentally friendly choices. There's a significant degree of skepticism around sustainability claims, as well as a desire for value alignment with the brands consumers choose to purchase. There is an increased prioritization on sustainability when making purchasing decisions in the cosmetics and skincare sector. They are more conscientious of the environmental and social impacts of the products they use. And this is reflected in their choices and really the amount of pre-purchase research they're doing. People want to feel good about the products they buy and the brands they choose to do business with. This value alignment connection grows increasingly more important with younger consumers. They feel it's their obligation to make choices that do not negatively impact their environment and the planet. Consumers are demanding greater transparency from brands regarding their sustainability efforts. They seek authentic and verifiable claims about eco-friendly practices, ingredient sourcing, and manufacturing processes. The practice of greenwashing is being met with increased frustration and disbelief from consumers. It's no longer enough to label your product as green or environmentally friendly. People want to know, in what way are you helping the environment? And this is where I think that specificity in claims is becoming ever more important. Putting on your label that your product contains 90% upcycled ingredients carries much more weight than just a sustainable sticker. Continuing in that line of thinking, sustainability must start with the ingredients you choose and be carried all the way through manufacturing practices onto packaging. Packaging plays a significant role in consumer perceptions of sustainability, and there's a preference for minimal and recyclable packaging, as well as alternatives to single-use plastics such as glass or biodegradable materials. Brands that prioritize sustainability and effectively communicate their efforts resonate more with the conscientious consumer. So there's many different ways we can measure sustainability efforts, and these are just a few of them. But it's important to remember not to let perfect get in the way of good. Rather than trying to tackle all aspects of sustainability at once, choose one that your company can focus on, and when you feel good about where you're at with that one, move on to the next most important. I think too many folks get overwhelmed by how large of a topic this is, and then they're paralyzed by how to do it all. You're much better off to start with one, work on that, and then progress. Here are some examples of the metrics we can choose and some potential claims that might come out of them. So carbon footprint reduction, this is one we're all familiar with. Quantifying the reduction in carbon emissions achieved through various initiatives. Your claim might be our products are produced with X% lower carbon emissions compared to industry standards. Water usage reduction, measuring the reduction in water consumption during production processes such as formulation and manufacturing. Your claim might be, we've reduced water usage by X% in our production process, which helps us to preserve natural resources. Recyclable packaging, the percentage of packaging materials that are recyclable or are made from recycled materials. The claim might be, our packaging is made from X% recyclable materials, reducing waste and promoting a circular economy. Zero waste initiatives, this is one that is near and dear to us at Biova. The amount of waste diverted from landfills through recycling programs or reusable packaging, or even utilizing upcycled ingredients. So your claim might be, we've achieved X% reduction in waste through our zero waste initiatives. As an example of this metric, Biova diverts 2 billion eggshells from landfills annually. Once the membrane is removed, the shells are then used as calcium supplementation in feed and fertilizer, making it a virtually zero waste product. There's also biodiversity preservation, contribution to biodiversity conservation through initiatives such as sustainable farming practices or habitat protection, and fair trade practices. What percent of products or ingredients are sourced from fair trade certified suppliers, ensuring fair wages and working conditions for producers? So as I mentioned, at Biova, we pull from the waste stream of commercial food production. We work with some of the largest egg breaking facilities in the US to utilize what would otherwise go into landfills. Food waste has a significant global impact. Each year, approximately 1.3 billion tons of food are wasted. This occurs at various stages of the food supply chain, including production, processing, distribution, and consumption. By reducing the waste generated by the egg processing industry, we help to cut that number down. Economically, food waste represents a substantial loss of resources, with an estimated value of $1 trillion annually. This loss not only affects businesses and farmers, but also contributes to higher food prices, really affecting all of us. And environmentally, food waste has serious implications for natural resources and ecosystems. The resources used in food production, such as water, energy, and land, are squandered when the food is wasted. Additionally, food waste is estimated to contribute 6% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Addressing food waste requires a multifaceted approach involving governments, businesses, and consumers, including improving infrastructure and logistics to reduce losses during production and distribution, implementing policies to encourage food donation and redistribution, raising awareness about the impacts of food waste, and researching and developing new uses for that which would otherwise be thrown away. So let's talk a bit about the benefits of upcycled ingredients for just a second. Upcycling utilizes materials that would otherwise be considered waste or byproducts of other processes. By incorporating these ingredients into beauty products, brands help reduce waste and minimize the environmental impact associated with disposal. Additionally, upcycled ingredients require fewer resources to produce compared to virgin materials, so there's a conservation of resources. The production of upcycled ingredients typically involves fewer emissions compared to the extraction and processing of virgin materials, thereby reducing your carbon footprint. Utilizing upcycled ingredients allows brands to differentiate themselves in the market by offering unique and innovative products. Consumers are increasingly seeking sustainable and eco-friendly options, and brands that incorporate upcycled ingredients can appeal to this growing group. Incorporating upcycled ingredients provides brands with compelling stories to share with consumers. Brands can highlight their commitment to sustainability, environmental stewardship, and social responsibility, thereby strengthening their brand identity and building trust with consumers. And upcycling often involves partnerships with local communities or organizations that collect and process waste materials. By sourcing upcycled ingredients from these groups, brands can support local economies and create employment opportunities. Let's talk for just a moment about claims. This list provides several examples under many of the metrics that we have already discussed. Again, don't try to start with everything. Choose one area to focus on and then move from there. I would also challenge you to make your claims specific and quantifiable. The claims on this list are quite general in nature, and I would encourage you to include specific numbers and percentages that reflect your company's efforts. Rather than upcycled ingredients for waste reduction, how about now utilizing 60% upcycled materials? Or under the metric of water conservation, I'd make the claim more along the lines of X% reduction in water usage. Thank you for your time today. If you have further questions for me or would like to learn more about Biova and our upcycled options for beauty, both topically and for beauty from within, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today about one of the most significant challenges in the cosmetic, personal care, and specialty chemicals arena. That is the legislation that was passed last year, otherwise known as the EU Deforestation Regulation, number 2023-1115. This regulation was monumental, not just to inhibit climate change and deforestation, but impacting 7 commodities that have been largely identified to be most significant contributors to human rights advocacy, climate change, and to mitigate deforestation around the world. These 7 commodities are identified as palm oil, soy, wood, which was originally regulated circa 2010, cocoa, coffee, cattle, and rubber. Additionally, these commodities are also impacted by their derivatives that are utilized in the supply chain. Their tariff codes can be identified in Annex 1 of the regulation. It's important to note there are significant compositional products that are derived from these commodities that impact all parts of the consumer and industrial supply chain. The objectives of the EU deforestation regulation can be achieved through 3 phases. The first is through the avoidance of the use of products and their commodities that are in scope. I previously listed the 7 commodities. These were identified through rigorous studies as being the most significant contributors to climate change, ranging anywhere from 34% all the way down to approximately 2%. Alternative mechanisms to reduce carbon emissions have to be identified through communities of practice and better agricultural practices as well. It's thought that through the mitigation of consumption and production of these commodities, greater than 32 million metric tons of carbon emissions can be eliminated. Other initiatives to address global deforestation driven by agricultural expansion and forest degradation will and can be identified quite easily. There are several key dates, both in the past and imminently approaching us, to monitor and navigate around. The first and foremost is that Any commodities that will be entering the market and or the derivatives have to be verified as having been derived from deforestation and forest degradation free areas dating back to 2020. Of course, the regulation was recently published last June of 2023, and it's in full force at this time. Member states in the European Union will be designating competent authorities to police and manage imports and the supply chain throughout Europe and incoming commodities and derivatives from throughout the world. There are provisions for small manufacturer enterprises, and that will be marked on June 30th of 2025. In order to ensure compliance to the regulation, the process should include 3 steps, generally speaking. The first is around information gathering, verifying with irrefutable verification that the commodities and their derivatives are produced according to local laws and regulations, and that they do not contribute to the degradation of forests. That risk assessment should be measured against third countries that may be the highest risk and or those commodities that may be at the highest risk of jeopardizing nonconformity to the regulation. Ongoing processes to validate irrefutable verification can be established and put in place. One potential solution for the technical effects of those commodities and derivatives that are impacted by the EU deforestation law is the consideration of an agricultural commodity, jojoba. It's well understood through clinical evidence and through independent studies that jojoba has a very strong and attractive sustainability profile. It doesn't compete with other food crops. It's multifunctional in nature for both hair and skin, and its supply chain is transparent. Some of the attractive examples of jojoba is that it generally grows well in water scarce environments. It's not subject to EU deforestation regulations because it's rather simple to grow, and its harvesting and agricultural practices at Vantage conform to Fair for Life certification. It's grown responsibly because we put in good economic, social, environmental practices. There are a broad range of derivatives that can come from jojoba for a variety of applications. Jojoba has been considered a desert adaptogen. It grows very well, it's sustainable, and thrives in a desert environment. It grows well in extremely dry and water-scarce environments, and the same type of agricultural environment is found in other parts of the world, such as Argentina, where Vantage practices the cultivation of jojoba there as well to social, environmental, and labor norms. It's been recognized as a highly attractive product, not just as a commodity, but many of its derivatives in the skin and hair care applications. These studies are in the published domain and are consistently substantiating the benefit from seed to application as an attractive alternative to some of the commodities that contribute significantly to climate change and deforestation. With one example, jojoba has been optimized by Vantage by being a geodiversified supply chain, both in Argentina as well as in the United States. We have developed processes for sustainable alignment by conforming to environmental, social, and labor laws. On the manufacturing side, our scientists have optimized various applications for end uses. So as you embark on transitioning and supporting the conformance to the EU deforestation regulation, keep Vantage Specialty Chemicals in mind. We have many alternatives that are sustainably sourced, suit technical needs, and conform to local, state, and federal regulations in terms of environmental practices and labor laws.
Hi, I'm Alex Florea. I'm Head of Sustainability at Medicaid. It is my pleasure to share with you today more about us as a brand and, of course, our sustainability story. But first, who is Medicaid? We are a B Corp certified British dermatological skincare brand, globally renowned for age-defying results without compromise. Born from professional roots, our simple CSA philosophy of vitamin C plus sunscreen by day and vitamin A by night is clinically proven to address 90% of skin aging concerns. What is also unique about Medik8 is that virtually everything is done in-house, from our state-of-the-art ISO certified production, warehousing, and dispatch facility just outside Aylesbury in Buckinghamshire. This means that our patented technologies can go straight from our cutting-edge R&D lab onto the manufacturing floor in the same building. It also means that we have full visibility and traceability of our ingredients, which are selected not only for efficacy, but also for sustainability. And lastly, we have control over all our operations to ensure we drive efficiency and reduction for water, energy, and waste. So, how are we driving positive impact at Medik8? Firstly, I'm excited to share that we became B Corp certified in January this year, one of only 66 cosmetic manufacturing companies within the B Corp community. But B Corp, it's not just an accolade or a logo. It has a deeper significance for Medik8. Firstly, it is a commitment to take into account the voices of all stakeholders, colleagues, suppliers, our community, and the planet. It is also a team effort, as every team member contributed to becoming certified and also to driving the B Corp values going forward. We also see it as a continuous journey, and we want to carry on learning to drive even more positive impact. It is also a community, and I am personally most excited about joining forces with other like-minded companies to use business as a force for good. And finally, it is an opportunity to bring others on this journey to work together for positive change. So, how are we setting ourselves up for positive change? Looking at what is expected of a company of our size and in our industry, what our customers and partners expect of us, and taking into account sustainability best practices, we came up with 4 impact areas, which we call our sustainability pillars. Firstly, climate action. We set a goal to become net zero by 2040 because we believe that any business, big or small, must act on climate change. Secondly, waste reduction, because we know this is something our customers care about, especially when it comes to packaging. Thirdly, ethical business, because how we choose ingredients, work with like-minded suppliers, how we treat our workers, and championing equity, diversity, and inclusion must be the foundations of everything we do. And lastly, but not least, social investment. To us, this means investing funds, time, and in-kind donations to support good causes. So let's take a more in-depth look at each pillar with a very quick overview of our targets and some progress highlights so far. Climate action has a very clear objective, net zero by 2040. I mentioned that our innovation center plays a big part in our sustainability story. This is because it enabled us to generate our own clean energy with solar panels on the roof. And we also top up our usage with 100% renewable energy. Since moving into the Innovation Center, we've removed all fossil fuel usage from our operations. We also know that measurement is essential to reductions. That is why we have been calculating our carbon footprint since 2021 and achieved a 3% reduction last year. How did we do that? Through policies like banning air freight for upstream inbound logistics. We are also climate pledge signatories, joining hundreds of other businesses with net zero by 2040 targets. Our waste reduction aim is less packaging, better packaging. What does this mean? Less packaging refers to reducing the amount of pack for each milliliter of formula transported. Better packaging means more recycled content, refillable, reusable, and/or recyclable at the end of life, and FSC paper and card. As I'm sure many cosmetic companies will recognize, it is a difficult topic to crack. But we are pleased with some early green shoots, like including PCR in oral amber glass bottles, pro bottles, and white non-airless tubes. We've also removed unnecessary components like spatulas and tubes and are increasing our refill options like our Present, Present Clear, Present Glow range. But of course, there is always more to be done. That is why we are currently reassessing all of our packs to make even more improvements. In ethical business, we pledge to source ingredients responsibly. And so we've audited over 400 raw materials to map supply chains and assess risks to water, biodiversity, and deforestation. We want to work only with responsible suppliers. So we've asked them to sign our code of conduct and periodically risk assess, as well as using SEDEX to reduce audit burden. We champion equity, diversity, and inclusion by having a diverse hiring policy and ensuring an inclusive culture. We celebrate all aspects of diversity through company-wide events such as Pride, Black History Month, Autism Awareness Week, and more. We are also a living wage employer, as it is very important to us to pay our teams a wage that ensures they can face the cost of living crisis. And lastly, our social investment. We have pledged to volunteer 200 hours each year. To support that, we offer 2 days paid volunteering each year for every employee, as well as providing company-supported opportunities, such as helping Sebi's Corner to pack over 2,000 Christmas gifts for children in need. We have also pledged to donate at least £300,000 to good causes. Linked to our founder, Elliot, who is a passionate master diver, we are supporting Paddy Aware Foundation. Together, we have collected 1,779 kilos of marine debris last year. Overall, since 2022, we have donated £100,000 to good causes throughout partnerships in the UK and US. I'm sure you can appreciate that this was just a quick overview of what we stand for in sustainability. I encourage you to look at our sustainability report on Medicaid.com to learn a lot more. Although we are very proud of our achievements so far, and especially becoming a B Corp, we know we are not perfect and there is still a long way to go to achieve our highest impact. But through events like this, we hope to join forces with other players in the industry to continue bringing on positive impact to communities and the planet. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to discussions to come.
Hello and welcome to the roundtable section of today's webinar. We hope you've been inspired and educated by all of today's presentations. If you would like to know anything more, now is your chance to send in your questions for our panelists. I can see that some of you already have, which is great, coming in, and some of you, of course, sent in your questions as part of the presentation. So we will attempt to answer as many of those as we can in the next 20 minutes. I do apologise for my voice. It is cold and flu season here in the UK, and I'm crossing fingers it will last for the duration of the webinar, so please be patient. So without further ado, I'll get onto the Q&A session. So maybe Alex, I think I'm going to pick on you as our resident beauty brand. What are we defining as sustainability these days, and how it relates to social impact?
Sure you will agree, having watched these excellent presentations from all the companies here, that we are all holding an all-encompassing definition of sustainability. We're not talking about just about environment, we're also talking about social sustainability and of course business sustainability. And since sustainability has become a science in itself, many years ago, we have been talking about this triple bottom line. And I think from a Medicaid perspective, what is really interesting is that when we achieved our B Corp certification, we were so proud to get this holistic certification that looks at all aspects of sustainability. Again, not just environment, but also social sustainability. For those of you who are not that familiar with B Corp, there's 5 impact areas: governance, workers, communities, environment, and customers. And as you can see from that description, it's very holistic. So social impact is actually at the core of what B Corp stands for. And together we are looking to deliver positive impact across the world. So I think definitely sustainability puts social impact at its heart, or modern sustainability puts social impact at its heart. And it really pleases me to see that such holistic certifications such as B Corp are present and are signaling those positive impacts to consumers.
Fantastic, and huge congratulations, by the way. Really, really great stuff there. So we have a question that's come in asking, how can I start my sustainable journey in cosmetic products? It's a really good question. Where do we begin with this? Maybe Amanda, would you be up for answering that?
Absolutely. I think that what's really important is not to be overwhelmed by the huge broadness of this subject. So there's so many different ways that a company can engage their sustainability journey. And what I feel is the best way to do this is really to identify what's most important to your business at the time. Where's the places you can make the most impact, and focus on one item at a time. Really move through that process completely. So whether that be waste reduction or carbon footprint or reducing packaging. I applaud the efforts of so many companies out there, but just really focusing on one item at a time and really move through that completely, and then move on to the next and see what you can do on the next level.
Absolutely. I love that saying. You don't have to be great to do good. You don't have to do everything to start that journey. You have to take step by step.
Right, absolutely.
I could build on that topic
Please,
as well.
yes.
I think I commend some of my other panelists here who have made some significant investments in capital for their infrastructure and facilities and what they're doing in the community. One of the things that we see advantage is that many of our customers who ultimately sell to consumers are seeking alternatives in the ingredients, and going all the way back in through the supply chain, as I was mentioning earlier today in the presentation. They're really trying to understand from farm to the consumer and what all of those impacts are. And so we're applying a significantly different lens and trying to guide our customers whenever possible to look for alternatives that have these kind of attributes that they could ultimately formulate and bring advantageous things to not just to their local community, but all along the supply chain that's impacted.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a domino effect, isn't it, really?
That's correct, yeah.
Fabulous. So what do you plan to implement in order to maintain or improve the sustainability of your products is a question we've got in here as well. Maybe Primoz, we haven't heard from you. Would you like to answer that one?
Oh, thank you for this question. Of course. Well, as a manufacturer, we decided internally that our starting point will be our product LCA, and identified basically 2 major areas that we will address in 2024, and where we see that we can make the biggest improvement. One is that we are looking into our PET, but currently also testing for possible migration and oxygen permeability. And the second one is that we are increasing the share of renewable energy by investing into solar, batteries.
It's picking and selecting those areas you want to focus on each time, and what you think is going to make that big impact there. Lovely. Anybody else fancy stepping in? Maybe Alex?
Sure. I think it's really important as a brand, especially from a consumer-facing perspective, is to understand what is important, what are the changes that we need to make in ourselves as a brand, but also how we communicate better with our consumers. So I think while we are working really, really hard behind the scenes on topics that potentially might not be as sexy, let's call them, for consumers, I think it's really important to carry on doing this underlying work. So I talked in my presentation about carbon. I'm a firm believer that sustainable business can only be underpinned by efforts to reduce our carbon. And even, we have expectations of big companies, but I think it is absolutely in the gift and the role of smaller companies to work on their carbon footprint. So that is something that we are it's very important to us, and we are keenly working on it as well. I think also making changes in the supply chain and collaborating across the value chain is really, really important. Again, these are behind the scenes activities that potentially, are not so customer facing, but they are absolutely crucial to delivering positive impact. And as my fellow panelists have spoken, I absolutely applaud all their efforts. All of it trickles down and contributes to delivering positive impact where it's most needed.
Absolutely. Collaboration in supply chain is so essential. So we have a really interesting question here. I love this one. How do you approach the agenda of sustainability when it tends to be at different stages in markets across the world? That's a really big one. Is there anyone that fancies jumping in on that?
Sure, I'll jump in and try and address that. Yeah. I think as in terms of my responsibility being global, interfacing with both local companies as well as international companies, we must, I guess, be a chameleon in a bag of Skittles, if you don't mind the plug. We must adopt and adapt to the local regulations as well as the monitor the trends that are happening globally, not just for aspiring attributes of these products, but it is a challenge. And so we must adopt, and we work together as a collaborative account aligned teams to both understand the voice of the customer as well as attempt to influence, based upon what we understand is happening globally across these things. It's not a simple solution by any means whatsoever. So we try and monitor what the trends are looking forward in terms of legislation as well as consumer insights.
Yeah, the legislative impact there is so important as well.
Can I just support this? What Stefano said. Basically, yeah, the same. The local regulation is the primary or the starting point, and then basically, as a manufacturer, we would rely on what is coming from a client, what the client needs. But local regulation, yeah, the first one.
Fantastic. So we have a question here asking, is the risk of greenwashing a particular concern in the cosmetics industry, and how do you ensure you stay on the right side of the line? Obviously, there's a huge amount of legislation coming around about the topic of greenwashing. Anyone want to hop on that one? Maybe Amanda, should I pull you to the front again?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned in my presentation earlier, greenwashing is a real problem, and consumers are more and more skeptical of labels that just say green, environmentally friendly, sustainable. There's no metrics around any of those claims, and it makes it very difficult for consumers to understand, well, what does that really mean? And until there are regulations around those particular terms, it's very much the same with like natural. Until there's regulations around that, I think the best way a company can combat that is to be very specific in your claims, adding numbers and percentages, and really explaining, on packaging, yes, but also through consumer education, through your social media feed, through your website, through all of the different ways you communicate with your customers, is the best way to really enforce what's most important and really lay out how your company is doing what they say they're doing. So how are we helping the environment? In what ways? And does it start at the beginning, or are we focused on? And you can even outline, as I was talking earlier about starting with one particular goal or metric, you can outline that, hey, we're starting here, but we have plans to expand onto these other things. So for right now, this is what we're working on, and this is our big focus, and how you're working to accomplish that.
Yeah, It's having that roadmap rather than trying to be was it everything everywhere all at once?
Yeah.
As a film score.
I think that consumers appreciate the transparency and the honesty of a company that says, hey, we know we're not perfect yet. We started down this path and this is important to us. And this is how we're prioritizing it, because then they can see and they can take that journey with you. And even offering consumers ideas of ways that they can partner with you. Hey, we're doing these things. Here are some ideas of what you can do at home. Is a great way to do that.
Yeah, that transparency is actually an asset, and you can bring people on that journey with you, and they feel really connected to the brand as well. It's a really good strategy. So I've got one here specifically for Alex. You're being picked on by our audience, which is great. Asking, what are your next short and medium-term goals to make a positive impact on the planet as a brand?
Absolutely. So I think it's really important to understand where are the areas where you should be doing something, areas where you can do something, and areas where you have the most impact. So our 4 sustainability pillars were created with all of these aspects in mind. Firstly, on carbon, because I think, as I said, I'm a firm believer that it is probably one of the most important things we should be tackling. So with a net zero target by 2040, in the short term, we definitely need to continue to reduce our emissions. Obviously, we have already made quite good strides, but it is a never-ending journey. So in the short term, again, continuing with our policies, especially reducing air freight, but also improving our data. This is a big focus for us. Working with our suppliers, especially Scope 3, it is notoriously difficult to collect accurate Scope 3 data. So in the very short term, speaking more to our suppliers and trying to get activity-based data from them is definitely a priority. And we feel that opening up this conversation with our suppliers is the one thing that will probably help us make a really big impact, because we are both signaling our interest, but also we are here to help them and share our knowledge and our expertise and the way we are doing things with them, so that snowballs into a positive impact. The second aspect I mentioned was around waste reduction. We know that this is something that our customers are really, really passionate about, and it is in one way the most visible aspect of our brand, right? Because you end up with the packaging at the end of our product life. And again, a very difficult topic to address, especially in the cosmetics business. But we are really committed to our better packaging promise, in the sense that we are looking to make all our packaging refillable, reusable, and or recyclable at the end of the life. And for really delicate, efficient, efficacious formulations like Medik8 has, it's a real big challenge. But we are scientists. We love a challenge, and we love a bit of innovation. So we are absolutely putting all our thinking hats on to resolve that packaging challenge. And then one last thing that I do want to mention in the short term. As I said, working with suppliers is really, really important. And so having that traceability, transparency, and visibility is also really important. So in the recent year, we conducted an audit of all of our ingredients, trying to go down the drains of our, of all of our ingredients to understand country of origin, environmental and social impact, and so on. And I think this also helps us from a carbon perspective, because we have mapped our supply chain. But it's so it's really exciting to understand where you can actually make that impact, and of course, again, work with other people to create positive change along the supply chain as well.
Fantastic. Well, whoever sent that in, I hope that answers your question really thoroughly. That's fabulous.
I mean, there's absolutely lots more to say. I definitely recommend checking out our sustainability report if you want to know more, and our targets and sort of progress to date. But in a nutshell, those are a couple of short-term targets.
Really great targets there as well. Thank you for letting us know that. That's wonderful. So we have a question here asking, how should smaller companies measure their carbon footprint as a starting point? Because I imagine quite a lot of people listening to this, some may be huge companies, but maybe some are SMEs. So is there any advice that you guys could give there? Alex, I can see you nodding. Oh,
Yeah, absolutely. As I'm sure you would have gathered by now, I'm really passionate about carbon. So I think, my background is in really big companies, and now I'm working for a smaller company. So I've experienced carbon calculations from all sides. And I would definitely recommend by starting looking at your what is called scope 1 and 2. So that means the fuels that you burn in order to do your activities. So that means whether you burn gas for your heating, your fleet, etc., and what is called scope 2, which is the electricity that you purchase. So this should be fairly easy for a small company, because basically you can see your electricity bills, you can see your gas bills, you know your fleet, you know your usage of fuel. So that could be well within the reaches of the company. So I would say probably if you're not looking at those things, you're missing out even from an economic perspective, because you should really be on top of your bills. There are even free tools available to do scope 1 and 2 calculations that will give you a starting point. And then really to Amanda's point, don't let the perfect get in the way of good. A very easy starting point is to do what is called a spend-based calculation. So taking everything you spend your money on in your business and using either a tool or a company that can do these calculations to a very early doors calculation that will effectively tell you these are the areas where you can make a difference really quickly, and these are the areas where you should look at putting longer term plans in place. So for us, we identified that air freight was one of such areas, and we could immediately put in place policies that would address that, and it has a drastic effect. So even though the calculation, since we first started measuring, we've improved our calculations tremendously, but even in the very beginning, that was a really good starting point. So I would say get on top of your scope 1 and 2 quickly and potentially for free, and then find a partner to do at least a spend-based calculation on scope 3. And it doesn't have to cost a fortune. There are numerous tools online and numerous companies that can do this. I'm sure they will have plans, commercial plans rather, for smaller companies as well.
Fantastic advice there, thank you.
If I could build on that, I think this person who's asking the question is doing it at exactly the right time. When the company is smaller and less complicated or complex, put the infrastructure in now to monitor those things that Alexandra was referring to, and decide and commit to a framework. Unfortunately, there are many different styles and or interpretations of an LCA. My recommendation is to consider some of the most preeminent ones that are understood across the industry, and to consider an ISO standard like the 14,000 series, because it is international in nature and resonates to stakeholders across the organization, because there is wildly confusing interpretations on the endpoints and the measurements, and the currency does not translate. But asking these questions in the infancy of the size of the organization is absolutely the best timing of it. So I commend whomever is considering that at this time.
Yeah, it's start these good habits early. It's a really, really good philosophy there. So I think we have time for one more question. So I'm going to make that one on. We have one in here which is asking, what is the relevance of sustainable claims over product-related claims? That's a really interesting one. Does anyone want to hop onto that?
I could try again.
Yeah.
So one of, so our resonating philosophy that we live and breathe by is winning the hearts and minds of our customers, and that's really important. So above and beyond, as we mentioned earlier with Primos, we have to unequivocally follow the compliance within the local, federal, and international regulations, okay? But some of these other claims resonate from a mission and value statement. So you must understand who your customer is and be able to adapt to widely different types of customers. So some of these sustainability requirements are much more rigid and well-defined in some parts of the world, and they're legal requirements. Others are attributes that some consumers may aspire to purchase because they resonate to their lifestyle. So I think it just depends on whom you're communicating and whose attention you're seeking to obtain, right? And that's the underlying question that must really be addressed when you're targeting your customer and consumer base.
Absolutely. Any further insights?
Can I add?
Yeah.
Can I add on this one? Maybe I got the question wrong, but I still think that the consumers are primarily buying products based on a particular promise that was made. So if you say it's an anti-wrinkle product, it needs to be an anti-wrinkle product. If you would have to implement sustainable practices that would make this product that is not anti-wrinkle anymore, nobody would buy it. This is how I see it. So sustainability is predominantly present in media, with the policymakers, and across different industries. But okay, maybe that's my opinion. I still don't see that it enjoys the same status with an average consumer. I don't know if I answered the question, but I think that product-related claims for benefits.
I think you answered the question, and I think you answered it very well. So guys, unfortunately, that is all we have time for today. So a huge thank you to our panelists, and thank you to you two, our viewers, for joining us. Apologies if we didn't get around to your specific question. As mentioned at the start of the webinar, maybe if you were late to proceedings and missed a bit and would like to catch up, this webinar will be available on demand. Our next roundtable webinar will take place on the 4th of April and will be all about the role of sun care in a world that's getting hotter. And if you look in the lower right-hand corner of your console, you can click the Sign Up Today button to make sure that you don't miss out on that one. With all that said, I'd like to extend a huge thank you to all of our speakers, and thank you to our audience for watching too. Goodbye.